following opinions are solely those of BoatTest.com and its test captain. Hi, Captain Steve for BoatTest.com, and today I'm on a new boat from Fountaine Pajot, the 44 motor yacht. I'm going to do a full sea trial and performance evaluation. We start from the full beam swim platform. There's a fixed section that comes out 12 inches and then a hydraulic section that comes out 4 feet 6 inches. Over to the starboard side, there's a ladder that automatically deploys as the platform comes down, and then there's a swim reboarding ladder all the way to the starboard side. The control panel for the platform is over on the port hand side stairwell. It can also work with a remote control, and I'm happy to see that there's a safety catch involved. You have to bring the platform up before you bring it down. That way, one of the kids isn't going to come and accidentally hit the button and drop it down, especially while we're underway. There are stairs to the cockpit to both port and starboard. To the starboard side, we also have a freshwater shower. Now this boat has a symmetrical layout with the same size side decks to both port and starboard. Let's take a look. The side decks are quite wide at 32 inches between the rail and the cabin sides. These rails come up 25 inches. As we continue forward, we have the spacious and inviting gathering area at the bow that consists of 2 sun pads. They can be adjusted in the chaise lounge position. There's storage in between the 2 lounges, and additional storage just ahead is extremely deep and lends itself to containing the lines and fenders. Now the cockpit's going to be, of course, our first gathering area, and it's exceedingly comfortable. Bench seating across the stern. We've got an extended overhead that starts at 6 feet 8 inches and increases to 7 feet 1 inch. And take a look at this, there's a drop-down shade for added protection. I'm happy to see safety gates to both sides. There's no locking position, but when it's closed, you can lean against it and it stops. I'd like to see a bumper here to protect the fiberglass. The flying bridge is our next exterior entertainment and gathering area, and it's accessed by stairs to the port side of the aft deck. I like how the curving stairs take up less space in the aft deck. Once we're on top of this flybridge, look at the space that we have up here for entertaining. It starts with an L-shaped sofa wrapping around a teak table on 2 stainless steel fixed pedestals. Just ahead, sink, plenty of open counter space, trash. Underneath, refrigerator with a pull-out door, storage. Also notice how the sink has a pull-out sprayer. Over to the left-hand side, comfortable sun pad with pillows held in position by Velcro. Be nice if we had forward-facing seating, and Fountaine Pajot seems to agree, because this is easily convertible by simply flipping that into position, and there's our forward-facing seat, and we can do the same thing with the next seat. Overhead, we're protected from the elements by this hardtop that's got a fabric sunroof that pulls back manually. Transitioning to the interior, look at these sliding glass doors, fully open. They give us an entryway, 4 feet 8 inches wide, and also notice how the doors open all the way to the port side, giving us an opening of 7 feet 6 inches. And when we come in, look at all this open space, starting with overhead, 6 feet 6 inches. Now, I'm happy to see that we have a galley right in the center of the 2 gathering areas. It's a U-shaped galley, plenty of counter space, and this is a solid surface counter, stain-free. A double convection cooktop, and I'm happy to see that Fountaine Pajot put their money into the high-end appliances. These are all Bosch electronics. They save money elsewhere, and we'll get into that shortly. I'm also impressed with the amount of storage. It's seemingly everywhere on this boat, including, look at this, in the deck where we have an extra cooler. While on the subject of storage, I'm happy to see that we have not only soft close drawers, but look at, they come out all the way, so we have full access. Storage continues around to the side. All available use of space, convenient bottle storage, more storage onto the side. This can be swapped out for a wine chiller, and take a look at this. To access the storage in the deck, now to me this creates a better solution than having a latch here. The latch has got to be flush mounted. If anything gets under it, it's going to be sticking up a little bit, creating a trip hazard or stub your toe. This is an easy solution. As we come into the gathering area of the salon, it's an 8-inch step up, and notice how the overhead increases so that we maintain our headroom. We've got opposing seating to both port and starboard. To the starboard side, it's a couch, L-shaped sofa over to the port hand side. The table is on an electric lift pedestal, so we can set it for dining or for cocktails, and I like how it's easily transitioning into a dining table. And notice the drawer underneath. Now back in the galley, I talked about how Fountaine Pajot puts money where it needs to be. For example, the Bosch electronics doesn't put them where it doesn't need to be. Take a look here. manually operated blinds, manually operated windows to both port and starboard, and I'm also impressed with the creative use of space that seems to be pervasive about this entire boat. As an example of that, instead of having a TV that comes up on an electric lift, we're able to maintain the headroom down below and have a TV that comes out from the side. Notice how there are strings to both sides that support the blinds so that they're not flapping back and forth as we maneuver through a seaway. Here's another example of where they've saved on cost. Look at the overhead. Small insert area that's wrapped in vinyl, but just molded fiberglass texture. Now let's take a look at the accommodations, which on a Fountaine Pajot consists of the owner's suite over to one hull and the guests over to the other. Let's start with the owners. Once I'm fully down the companionway, there's plenty of storage to one side, and I notice there's storage to the other. This can be optioned out for a washing machine, which answers the question of why isn't there a door right here blocking off the master stateroom. The door is here because in case we have the washing machine running, we can still have quiet in the stateroom. Now, let's take a look at how the owners are treated. Well, comfortable accommodations for the owners. It's an open and airy space with ceilings 6 feet 6 inches off the deck. Island queen. Notice how it's down low, 1 foot 8 inch off the deck, so we don't have to climb up into it, and it's mounted to thwart chips facing the hull side window with an opening port light. Now down low there's a small area that comes up just to the side because of the hull side. My foot hit it once or twice, but after that I knew it was there, and then it became inconsequential. Again, storage just everywhere, including 5 drawers that again open full length and close with a soft touch. I'm also impressed with the fact that there's an actual mattress here, not just a foam pad. And to the other side of the berth, more storage, both forward and to the sides here in the form of a vanity that really could use a mirror and a support strut. And while on the subject of mirrors, there's not a full-length mirror in sight. And look at the storage compartments in the deck, how deep they are, and there are 7 of them on this deck alone. As we continue forward, more storage in the form of his and hers closets, well, hers and hers. Notice how they're squared instead of being tapered, so we can actually hang clothes in them. Now as we continue forward, we come to the head compartment. Again, plenty of open space and storage, in this case behind 3 mirrored cabinets. We've got natural light coming in from a hatch up above and a hull side window, but I'd like to see some powered ventilation aside from that hatch being open. Just ahead, a walk-in shower. I like how the doors are solid core and they close on gaskets so that there's no rattling while we're underway. Notice that there's no latch sticking out to hook on your shirt. However, when the door is closed, a magnet pulls the latch out. Now there's a customizable factor involved in this motor yacht. This center compartment, prime example. Here we have a berth. One owner decided he would make it into an office, so a desk was put in here. Another decided to make it into a laundry area. One thing I'd like to see changed in this compartment is the lighting. It should be the same as everywhere else with the lighting fixed to the ceilings. Instead we have a light strip here. We still have natural light coming in from an overhead hatch. The guests will be over to the starboard hull, and again as we make our way down the companionway, more storage is just everywhere on this boat. Once down below we have 2 staterooms, one aft that has a private ensuite head and one forward that will also be utilizing the day head. Let's look at a couple of details of this aft stateroom. There's a queen-size island berth, a thwart chips again just like the master, and it's facing a hull side window with an opening port light. The head has its own walk-in shower, a little bit small, but there's still room here where we could add some shelving for a bar of soap and perhaps some shampoo. The forward stateroom has a bit of a V berth, accessed from the foot of the bed. There's a hull side window, again with an opening port light and natural light coming in from an overhead hatch. The day head, another walk-in shower, but again, no place to put even a bar of soap. And again, to this side, 6 storage compartments in the deck. The engine rooms are accessed from decks in the aft cockpit. Let's take a look. Both compartments, of course, have the Volvo Penta IPS 600s, 435 horsepower. The starboard engine room also contains the Fisher Panda generator and the cruise air system. The port side also contains all the engine start and house batteries. Just ahead of the deck hatches in the aft cockpit, fuel fills, and notice they're recessed, so if we do happen to have a spill, it doesn't get onto our teak and it's easy to clean up. To the left side of the companionway is the ship's main electrical panel. As for the ground tackle, the anchor and windlass are, of course, center mounted and on an elevated platform just ahead of the center storage compartment between the 2 lounges. Access to the all-chain road is at the forward section of this storage compartment. The anchor is suspended by a stainless steel davit. A cleat is alongside to take the strain off the windlass. Additional cleats for securing the dock lines are to the sides. Gotta love this helm, starboard mounted and nicely laid out panel. 17-inch display over on the left-hand side that we can control everything from. Over to the right-hand side, the Volvo Penta EVC display and the ignition start stops. Defroster so we can keep all the windows clear. Compass mounted in the middle. And yes, the steering is mounted to a tilt base. Double wide helm seat with a flip-up bolster and flip-up armrests. To the starboard side, the digital engine controls with its host of optional features, and just behind, the IPS joystick, and I'm happy with the positioning of this because I can turn around and face the stern while manipulating the joystick and back into a slip with a clear view of both sides of the stern. Now notice that we have a Raymarine display here. Normally Fountaine Pajot adds a Garmin display. This one the owner decided to have. With the Garmin display, however, it's completely tied into all of the systems on the boat, so we can control all the lighting, air conditioning, entertainment, all from this location. In addition, we have iPad minis that can be put around the boat so we can control from wherever we are, and we also have a Garmin watch so we can also control everything from our watch. Of course, the watch is also synced via Bluetooth to your smartphone so you can see who's calling you and who's giving you a text message. And even though we have so much controllability with the Garmin displays, there's still manual switches for things like the horn, the windshield wipers, and the washers. The Flybridge Helm, much the same as the lower helm, single Raymarine display over to the left-hand side, Volvo Penta EVC over on the right-hand side, compass mounted directly in line with the helm, which is on a tilt base, engine controls, and then the joystick over to the right-hand side. And again, we have Raymarine instead of Garmin, which is going to be on every other boat. This owner requested the Raymarine. And don't forget, with that Garmin system, we still have control of the lights and air conditioning through an iPad or our watch. We got our first look at the MY44 at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show, and when it came time to get underway, it gave us our first impression of how well this beamy yacht handles tight confines. And frankly, with our IPS drives, there were no surprises. We had a strong cross current that we were able to tame, even when we had the occasional pop-up hold position here and there. It had plenty of authority to keep us in one spot. Once moving, a simple transition to the throttles returned us to traditional controllability with the steering wheel. And frankly, with this sort of traffic, it's comforting to have the good control authority that this yacht presents. Both helms were comfortable to operate from, and here, when standing, the wheel falls right to my fingertips. That's a trait that's lost on a lot of builders, ergonomics. The Fountaine Pajot MY44 has a length overall of 44 feet, a beam of 21 feet 7 inches, and a draft of 4 feet 3 inches. With an empty weight of 32,849 pounds, 1 quart of fuel, and 7 people on board, we had an estimated test weight of 34,986 pounds. With a pair of 435 horsepower Volvo Penta IPS 600s turning at 3,600 RPM, we reached our top speed of 23.8 knots. Our narrow cat hulls and level acceleration attitude combine to produce a linear performance curve, so there's no real best cruise per se. It's more appropriate to let the current conditions and comfort set the speed. For example, in our test in 1 foot light chop, we found ourselves putting the throttle at around 16 knots or 2750 RPM. At that setting, the 20 gallon per hour fuel burn translated into a range of just over 380 nautical miles, all while still holding back a 10% reserve of the boat's 528 gallon total fuel capacity. Again, because of her level acceleration, we reached planing speed, or the speed where the hull created a rooster tail, in 5.3 seconds and continued on through 20 miles per hour in 9.4 seconds. Always with cats, there's the question of turns. Does it lean or not? So here, the MY44 does not. She'll stay flat on the turns, and thanks to the turning characteristics of any pod drive, the turn is slow and docile. There's no feel of being pushed to the outside of the turn, and in fact, those who are unfamiliar with boats will feel more comfortable with this. Cars don't lean into the turns either, so guests will feel right at home, or on the road, so to speak. Now, while we had calm conditions, the steady stream of large yachts coming out of the port gave us some decent wakes to test out her handling. Taking the waves on the beam presented us with just a slight roll as expected, and tracking remained arrow straight. With a following sea, she slices right through the back of the forward wave with her narrow entry and again remains dead straight. And with the waves just off the bow, we transitioned cleanly through with no spray and yet again, no change of heading. With the waves coming head-on, we did have the sneeze effect where the air pressure between the hulls pushed the mist up and over the bow. Just take the wave slightly off the head and it's gone. And when it came time to return to the dock, her handling characteristics were predictable and well dialed into the joystick. Precision maneuvering is actually quite easy and bodes well for those transitioning up from a smaller boat. Well, that's my full sea trial and performance evaluation of the all-new 44 motor yacht from Fountaine Pajot. For BoatTest.com, I'm Captain Steve. We'll see you on the water.